From cuddling with a python to playing games with a tiger, here are 10 unbelievable stories of human-animal bonds. Number 10. Agee the polar bear. Most species of bear can be incredibly dangerous, so what would it take for you to spend a night sleeping in the same bed as one? Well, that's what Mark Dumas from British Columbia does quite regularly, and his bear of choice is the most dangerous of all, an 840-pound polar bear. Standing at 7 feet tall, his best friend Agee has lived with him for most of her life. They share an incredible bond, and Mark says that the only people Agee likes are he and his wife. They regularly wrestle and even pose for pictures with Mark's head in her mouth. This isn't recommended behavior around polar bears, of course, but Mark is an experienced bear handler and has worked with them for more than 40 years. He said that he raised her as a cub and he knows how to read her body language and act safely around her. Agee even purrs like a kitten whenever Mark's around. Still, no matter how confident you feel with them, it's important to remember that they are wild animals. These animal-human bonds are remarkable and rare. Number 9. Pikin the Gorilla. Primates are the closest animals in the world to humans, so it's perhaps no surprise that there are a number of stories of incredibly close bonds between our species. This image, the winner of 2017's Wildlife Photographer of the Year award, shows just how amazing this friendship can be. It's of a gorilla named Pikin, who at the time was being transferred to an animal sanctuary in Cameroon by the Ape Action Africa charity. Sadly, she had been captured by poachers who were planning on eating her, but she was rescued just in time. Usually during these transfers, the gorillas are sedated, but Pikin's medicine had worn off just prior to this image being taken, and rather than being frightened or acting violently, she woke up in the arms of her handler, Apollinaire du Houdou, and hugged him. The bond between these two extends much further than Apollinaire rescuing Pikin from her captors. Apollinaire had also been forced to leave his home in Chad, in this case because of the Civil War, and had moved to Cameroon, where he dedicated his life to caring for displaced animals. It is a story of strength and compassion, and Joanne MacArthur, the photographer, says she is thankful that the image resonated with people and that she hopes to inspire people to care just a little bit more about animals. She says that she documents a lot of cruelty against animals, but that sometimes she is able to witness stories of rescue and friendship. Number 8. Dindim the Penguin. You've probably heard tales of birds forming bonds with humans, often because they attach to the first thing they see once they hatch. But this next story shows just how intense and integral this bond can become. In 2012, João Pereira de Sousa found a South American Magellanic penguin on an island off the coast of Rio de Janeiro in Brazil. The penguin was malnourished and covered in thick oil, so de Sousa immediately cleaned its feathers and found it a meal. From that moment on, the penguin developed an unbreakable bond with its rescuer. It soon recovered and left for its migration. Usually this species congregates to breed on the Patagonian coasts of Argentina and Chile, as far as 5,000 miles away. Every year, Dindim the penguin makes the journey and spends 8 months on the island with the retired fisherman. De Sousa refers to Dindim as one of his children, and before you start thinking that the penguin just likes the island and the people, and not De Sousa in particular, by all accounts, he's the only person that it will get close to. If anyone else tries to pet it, it will peck at them. Instead, it's far happier sitting in De Sousa's lap and letting him feed him sardines. And now for number 7, but first, if you are new here, be sure to subscribe! Number 7. Chamroeun the Python. When you were a child, what pet did you wish for? I wanted a giant panda, but no luck. If you were lucky, maybe you did get your wish, but I'm not sure how many of you were allowed to have a potentially dangerous animal that was many times bigger than you. It seems like this might not be such a big deal in Cambodia, where Uorn Sambath, a 7-year-old boy, has an unusual bond with a 220-pound python. It began when Uorn was 3 months old, and the snake, then a baby too, slithered into his crib. They would sleep in the cradle together, and he even learned how to crawl alongside the snake. This sounds really unsafe. Is that just me? The python has grown up much faster than the boy and eats more than 22 pounds of chicken a week. It's becoming quite a financial difficulty for the family, so they have tried to make the most of the fame that the story has generated and encourage tourists to visit the boy and his snake, which is now about 4 times longer than he is tall, at 16 feet long. The boy cuddles with the python, rides it, kisses it, and they just hang out together. His parents believe the snake is a magical spirit who understands them and protects the family from illness. Wildlife and police officials tried to take the snake away in 2008, but couldn't resist the cuteness of the two cuddling. Unfortunately, in the most recent news that I could find, in 2011, the python bit Uorn, who was then 12 years old, on the leg. The python had been unresponsive and had never bitten before, so the family decided to let the wildlife rescue team take her away to the wildlife center. Number 6. A humpback whale. As anyone who has been diving will know, one of the most frightening sights you can see when you're underwater is the distinctive shape of a shark. Even if it's what you're there to see, there's a certain instinctive respect toward the ocean's top predators. In October of 2017, Nan Hauser, a marine biologist, was snorkeling in the water with a humpback whale when it started exhibiting some unusual behavior. Suddenly, it put her under its fin and started nudging her in a different direction. She looked around to see what was going on and spotted a tiger shark circling her. The whale even at one point lifted her out of the water to keep her safe. Following the incident, Nan said that there was another whale in the distance that was splashing its tail and helping to distract the shark from setting its sights on her. It's evidence that humpback whales are far more nurturing than you might initially think, and shows their intuitive protective behavior for other creatures, something that is not too common in the animal kingdom. Number 5. Rambo the Alligator. When you think about the ideal pets to have around the house, ones with rows of sharp teeth probably wouldn't be on the top of your list. Mary Thorne from Florida doesn't see it as a problem though, and even had to plead a case to the authorities to allow her to keep her pet of 10 years, an almost 6-foot-long alligator. She first adopted the gator when it was young and even set up an entertainment business where she would take Rambo the alligator to parties and events with her social media channels full of images of people holding him and him being dressed in a wide range of outfits. I'm sure he loved that. She'd take him everywhere with her and even let him ride motorcycles and ATVs. Rambo has grown a lot since she first got him, and the recent ruling has allowed her to keep him at her home as long as she follows certain rules. She can no longer take him for public appearances, and he must have his mouth taped shut when leaving the house. The rule that's bothered her the most, though, is that she needs to get a pet license. She wholeheartedly considers the gator to be a part of her family and doesn't think that they should be seen as animals that can be kept as pets, but should instead be considered equals. Number 4. The Port Jackson Shark. Rick Anderson is an Australian diver who regularly swims in the waters off the southern coast. He strongly believes that sharks are friendly creatures, and it was while showing this to a group of students a few years ago that he developed a strong bond with a Port Jackson shark. It was still very young, and he approached it and tickled it before giving it a cuddle. The markings on the sharks are as distinctive as any other animals, so each time he revisited the area, he would find it again and again and go in for a hug or a cuddle. Now, whenever he enters the water, the shark swims up to him. This friendship has now been going on for a number of years. Occasionally, the shark will give him a friendly nip, but according to Anderson, the thing he is most concerned about is that the shark would leave him and develop a friendship with another diver. He says he would be heartbroken if this happened, so he ensures that he regularly visits just to make sure the Port Jackson shark doesn't forget who he is. Number 3. Kham Lha the Elephant. The Save Elephant Foundation in Chiang Mai, Thailand was set up to help protect the endangered creatures from environmental pressures and, more importantly, from illegal poachers. The volunteers work closely with the elephants year-round, and the bonds they develop with them are incredible. Kham Lha was rescued at 5 years old, and whenever Derek Thompson, who is a co-founder of the organization, calls her name, she comes running towards him like the biggest puppy in the world, calling out in excitement. In 2016, Derek was by a river where Kham Lha was playing. He called out to her to get her attention, but she misunderstood and thought he was calling out for help. She immediately ran through the water, sheltered him with her body, and extended her trunk out for him to hold onto. Of course, Derek was completely okay, but it just shows how close a bond the two have developed ever since he rescued her when she was very young. In Thailand, elephants are usually subjected to brutal training, and organizations like Save Elephant Foundation give them a chance to recover and live in peace with their elephant families. Number 2. Mulan the Tigress. In 2007, Abdullah Sholeh from Indonesia took on a job that isn't for the faint-hearted. He became a nanny for a 3-month-old tiger cub. Named Mulan Jamila, the Bengal tigress was donated to a school in Malang soon after her birth because her previous owner couldn't take care of her. It started off as a part-time job for Abdullah, but soon became a full-time position, and he spent almost 24 hours a day with her. If he's not in her enclosure, she becomes visibly anxious, and she is only calm once he has returned. After 10 years together, they have developed an extreme attachment to one another, and Abdullah misses her if he's away too long. She acts just like any pet cat, but the consequences of her being overly friendly are always present in his mind. He's covered in scratches from when they play because, of course, she's a tiger. He feeds her about 6 kilograms of meat a day, usually chicken or goat, and even sometimes will feed it to her from his own mouth. Despite this protein-rich diet, Abdullah says that her favorite meal is instant noodles, something that he's kept only for special occasions. Number 1. Jessica the Hippo. Jessica the Hippo is famous around the world as being one of the only hippos to be kept in captivity without being contained in an enclosure. Many would argue that hippos are one of the most dangerous animals in the world because of their size, strength, and aggressive nature, but Jessica is often hailed as proof that they can live a more calm existence. Tony and Shirley Joubert found her on the outskirts of the Kruger National Park when she was very young and adopted her as their own child. Now she has free reign of the family home, but the favorite spot for the half-ton animal is on the sidewalk. She's actually so calm that visitors are able to visit the home and feed her, and she's also starred in more than 90 movies and documentaries. Her temperament is quite unusual for hippos, so if you ever find yourself near one, you'd best be careful to back off. Unless it's Jessica, of course, in which case you should just feed her a bottle of juice. Thanks for watching! Do you have a special bond with an animal? I'd love to hear about it in the comments. Be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye!